Hello and welcome to United Report. This is your home for all the latest Manchester United news, match updates, transfer stories, and in-depth analysis. Stay connected and never miss a moment. Subscribe now to stay ahead with everything happening at Old Trafford. Sir Alex Ferguson has issued advice to Manchester United's next generation of talent, insisting they must handle defeat if they want to be successful. The Scot remains the club's most successful manager and has been left to watch on for 12 years since retiring as the club try and fail to replicate his achievements. One of the pillars of his tenure was the constant use of academy players. Ferguson bought through the class of '92 and saw the likes of Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham and the Nevilles thrive in the first team. They helped him win numerous finals, but the Scot recalls more of the finals he lost as a manager than those he won, citing their importance in his development. The current United side features academy stars like Kobbie Mainoo, but they are struggling to get results at present. Ferguson, who was speaking at academy event, made it clear that handling defeats in the right way is key to development despite the expectation to win. He said, "You have to handle defeat the correct way. To be a winner, you have to accept defeat is part of your life, but you can correct it the very next day. All the young players here, handle defeat in the right way and make sure you are a winner the next day. I won 32 finals, 2 laughs. Actually, I can tell you every detail of all the finals I lost more than the ones I won, because it is part of my life. Losing is part of my life, and it is not easy because your expectation, not just with me and my family, but with the players, their families and the supporters, is to win." Some of the club's academy graduates have endured difficult times as of late. Marcus Rashford, who came through under Louis van Gaal, has just left the club on loan, but his switch to Aston Villa could soon become permanent. Ferguson accepts that managers and players operate in a world where results are king, but insists that backing a young player is key and should always be a part of the fabric in Manchester. He said, "In the industry today, where results matter, you have to have great belief when you play a young player. That is without question. But this club does that. Any young player that comes through has got a chance. We had some fantastic young players who became internationals, and it is a joy to see it. Long may it continue, and it will continue, because what I see today is exactly what I expected to see." Ruben Amorim claims Manchester United are on the right track to progress because he can hear it during training sessions. United remain a dismal 15th in the Premier League table before facing Everton at Goodison Park on Saturday lunchtime. And since arriving as Erik Ten Hag's replacement, Amorim has failed to steady a leaking ship with problems at both the back and in attack. But he is backing the team to get better and reckons there has been plenty of evidence on the training pitch. They are improving, creating relationships. Even the sound of the training is different, Amorim said in his press conference to preview United's last ever visit to Goodison and a meeting with the club's former manager, David Moyes. "But we have to use that in the game, and we have to take that step. I feel in training we are bonding and understanding the way we want to play, but then in a game, we struggle a lot." Asked to expand on what he meant by the sound of training, Amorim said, "The sound is like when you are training and you are making an exercise. You hear the sound. People are talking, asking for the ball, giving directions and talking with each other. You can feel it in the environment. If you spend your life as a player and a coach, even the sound of the training is important, and I feel we are changing that." Lenny Yoro illness, Manuel Ugarte knock, and Christian Eriksen illness are fit to return against Everton, having missed last weekend's defeat away to Tottenham Hotspur. United were drawn against Real Sociedad in the Europa League round of 16, but Amorim added, "I just want to win against Everton. I want to be clear on that. We have a lot of issues to solve. If I'm thinking about Real Sociedad and winning trophies, that's not the right way to do my job," he said. Liverpool legend Graeme Souness has told Ruben Amorim that his tactics are giving Manchester United's weak-minded players an excuse to keep failing. Amorim has been steadfast in his approach since replacing Erik Ten Hag in the Old Trafford dugout, insisting on a 3-4-3-1 formation, despite reports that players are questioning his tactics behind the scenes. The 40-year-old boss believes that what worked at former clubs Braga and Sporting Lisbon will also be successful in the Premier League, where he's only won 4 of his 14 games so far. Souness, though, reckons that his tactics are giving United's players an easy get-out, as they can point to the system being the problem and not themselves. It's an excuse, and weak-minded players always love an excuse. It's the system, not them, the former Liverpool captain and manager wrote in his column for the Daily Mail. To walk through the door and impose your playing style without evaluating the staff in front of you is either very brave or very naive. It goes against everything I was taught as a player under all the great managers I worked under. If you take over a job halfway through a season, it's usually because the club is in turmoil, the roof is leaking, and at United it quite literally was. Arriving at that new club as a manager, you see what players you have to work with and then adopt a style that suits them. How you train, your preparation for games, the timetables, the travel, the hotels. You have a bit of push me pull you, back and forth before you devise a plan that takes away every possible grievance, so that when it comes down to playing and any criticism begins, there are no excuses for those players. The Scottish icon went on to say, "Some are not fit to wear the Manchester United strip, but Amorim's stubbornness over imposing his system is giving them that excuse not to perform." What compounds the issue is that he is making unnecessary compromises. When injuries, such as those suffered last week, enforce changes, you should keep your really good players in their best positions. Compromising them just weakens your team further. Amorim will hope that his system clicks when United travel to face Everton on Saturday, marking their last ever trip to Goodison Park. The Red Devils then host relegation-battling Ipswich on Wednesday before their FA Cup round of 16 clash at home to Fulham next weekend. When Manchester United travels to Everton in the Premier League on Saturday, they could benefit from a fortunate omen. The Reds will take on the Toffees at lunchtime this weekend as they kick off the Premier League weekend on Merseyside. This kick-off time is not one that often crops up on the United fixture list, but when it does, they have a good record in those games. During the last 9 matches played in the Premier League at 12:30, United have been victorious on 7 occasions. This includes a victory over Saturday's opponents Everton and local rivals Manchester City. United will hope that their recent success at lunchtime will inspire a change of fortunes for them. After Sunday's 1-0 defeat at Tottenham Hotspur, the Reds have dropped to the lowly position of 15th, just 12 points above the relegation zone. Alarmingly, their current points tally of 29 would only be enough to save them in 2 of the last 10 Premier League campaigns. On average during this time period, clubs have needed to reach 35 points to avoid relegation to the Championship. Ruben Amorim's side are not favourites to be relegated at this stage, but there is a concern regarding where the next victory will come from. United's options in attack are limited following the injury to Ahmad, with both Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee struggling for goals too. United last tasted victory in the Premier League at the end of January after Lisandro Martinez's brilliant strike. The Argentine defender will be out for a significant period of time after suffering an injury during the clash with Crystal Palace earlier this month. Manchester United winger Alejandro Garnacho has taken the unconventional decision to send his support to rival Erling Haaland after Manchester City were knocked out of the Champions League on Wednesday night. The Norwegians scored in the first leg for the Blues last week as City collapsed to a desperate 3-2 defeat to Real Madrid at the Etihad Stadium. In the reverse leg this week, Pep Guardiola chose to name Haaland among the substitutes as City crashed out of Europe at the playoffs. Kylian Mbappe's hat-trick at the Bernabeu pushed Carlo Ancelotti's side out of sight, with Nico Gonzalez's consolation not enough to rescue City. Haaland had to watch all this from the sidelines, but while he was unable to impact the result on Wednesday, he did send a defiant message to his followers on Instagram. He wrote, "We remain as one. Sometimes you have to experience this in life and learn from it. You can't always win. We'll rise again together." While the message was aimed at the City fan base in particular, Garnacho decided to like the post in a strange show of support. The rivalry between City and United needs no explanation, and while a lot of players from both sides socialise with one another in Manchester, few openly advertise their friendship on social media. Garnacho's social media use has been criticised previously after it was reported last year that he had liked critical posts about former manager Erik Ten Hag on X. Earlier this year, the Argentine deleted his ex-profile, but remains active on Instagram, mainly posting about his family life in England. City and United will face each other again before the end of the season, when Haaland's men travel to Old Trafford on April 5th.